You are wearing something right now. Maybe it is a shirt. Maybe it is a jacket. Maybe it is something you grabbed without thinking this morning, because that is just what you do. You get up, you get dressed, you do not ask why. But the real reason humans started wearing clothes has nothing to do with cold weather, nothing to do with modesty. The real reason is far stranger. And once you hear it, you will never look at what you are wearing the same way again. Here is what the textbooks tell you. Humans started wearing clothes roughly 170,000 years ago in Africa. The climate was getting colder. Bodies needed protection. Problem, solution, end of story. Except Africa, even during its coldest periods, was not cold enough to require clothing for survival, so something else triggered it. And scientists did not figure out what it was until they started looking at lice. Not metaphorical lice, actual lice. In 2003, researcher Mark Stoneking at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology studied the genetic divergence between head lice and body lice. Head lice live in hair, body lice live in clothing. They are the same species, but body lice can only survive if clothing exists. By tracing the moment body lice split from head lice genetically, Stoneking calculated the precise moment humans started wearing clothes regularly enough for a new subspecies of louse to evolve. The answer, roughly 170,000 years ago, in Africa, during a period that was not particularly cold. So the cold weather theory collapsed. Here is what was actually happening. Around 195,000 years ago, Africa went through one of its most severe climate contractions in prehistoric history. Food became scarce. The human population crashed. Some researchers believe the total number of breeding humans alive dropped as low as a few hundred individuals. Your entire species nearly went extinct. The survivors migrated toward coastlines. And in those new environments, evolutionary biologist Nina Jablonski's research shows something extraordinary happened. Humans rapidly lost their body hair, faster than almost any other physical change in the human record. And here is the problem with losing your body hair. Without fur, the body becomes vulnerable not to cold, but to insects, to parasites. Body hair is not primarily a warming system. It is a detection system. Tiny hairs register the movement of insects before they can bite. When you lose that system, you become exposed in a way no other large mammal on the savanna is exposed. Clothing did not replace fur for warmth. It replaced fur as armor. Then something else happened. Something that took clothing from practical to powerful. The survivors were not just physically stressed. They were socially stressed. Small, isolated groups had to signal identity fast. Who are we? Who are you? Are you one of us? In a world where resources were scarce and strangers were threats, visible group membership became a survival advantage. Anthropologist Fiona Coward has argued that the explosion of symbolic behavior around 100,000 years ago, shell beads, ochre pigment, engravings, was social technology. Visible identity markers readable at a distance before a stranger got close enough to be dangerous. Clothing was the most powerful version of that technology. It covered the body, moved with you, and could be decorated, colored, and changed. It announced your group, your status, your beliefs, before you said a single word. Think about what you are wearing right now. Think about why you chose it this morning. Some part of that choice was about belonging, about signaling who you are. That impulse is not vanity. That impulse is 170,000 years old. Psychologist Paul Rosen at the University of Pennsylvania has shown that bodily shame is not a universal instinct. It varies across cultures. But what is universal is using clothing as a boundary between the inner self and the outer world. Every culture ever documented uses body covering as a social signal. Not always for warmth, not always for modesty, but always for meaning. You did not invent that. You inherited it. What you are wearing right now is the endpoint of a 170,000-year experiment in survival, identity, and belonging. It started not because your ancestors were cold, but because they were exposed to parasites, to strangers, to a world that had become violently unpredictable. They covered themselves to survive, then to belong. Then they forgot why they started and called it fashion. The next time you stand in front of your wardrobe wondering what to wear, You are doing something your ancestors did on the edge of extinction. You are deciding who you are going to be.